something wrong with the PPT. Okay, perfect. Good. So let's talk about what are the different processes out there, and this throughout this PMBOK guide or throughout this PMP training, we're going to talk about the project management process, and there is a product-oriented process are also there, but those are industry-specific. So the PMI doesn't consider, those are not generic process. So like pharmaceutical process are different, and construction process are business process are totally different, right? Pharmaceutical business process and construction business process, so it is totally different. So those are called as product-oriented process. And we don't consider, or PMI or PMBOK doesn't consider the product-oriented process because this is not a generic and it's not been applied. But project management process are, they are generic. For example, initiation, planning. You'll create a project management plan. You're going to have a develop project charter. You're going to have a scope management, cost management. So these are the basically some of the activities which is a very generic, and it goes for across all the industries. So we're going to talk about the project management process and what are the different processes are there. So normally we have 5 process groups, and those are called initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And I will be going through these processes again and again. So you're going to memorize all those things, and those are easy. That's not difficult also. But these are called as a process group. Within these process group, there are the multiple processes are there, and which are categorized into the multiple knowledge areas. Let me go to this PMBOK guide before coming to that slide, and I will go coming to this slide also. This is a project management process group and knowledge area mapping. I will take a PDF copy and from where I can show you. Give me a second. So how the process groups are there, how the process within a process group, what are the different processes are there, and how it been linked to the knowledge areas. If you are a PMI member, you can download your PMBOK guide under your name. If you see that, I will definitely recommend, being a PMI membership. So, which I have already said it. So you'll download it, and you're going to save some dollar when you are going for applying for PMP application, as well as for submitting a form. So, perfect. So, okay. So this is the chapter 3rd. This is one tabular, documents are there in the PMBOK guide, very important, where it will show you what are the different process groups are there and what is the knowledge areas are there. And we'll be discussing about this throughout our syllabus, these integration management, scope management, these are called as knowledge areas. Like in the scope management, what are the different activities you're going to do it? In the time management, what are the different activities you're going to do it? And those things will called as a process. Okay, because process, it has you're going to give some input, you're going to apply some tools and technique, and you will have some output. For example, let's talk about this is one of the process. Technical terms, maybe I can say these terms are there, like develop project management plan process. So this is one of the process. By word itself, you can understand you are going to work on something where at the end you will have a project management plan. At the end, you are going to have a project management plan. Now, for developing the project management plan, you need some input, some data is needed, right? What are the data is needed? You're going to have a project charter. I will going to explain how the project charter is there. What is the project charter? So, project charter is a high-level document which basically authorizes a project manager to start the project. Okay, when I say the high level requirement, so normally this business sponsor and so what they do it, or a project sponsor, they will create some high level requirement. They will say, hey, would like to have some can you work on building some Android app for my e-commerce website, or for my this process. Maybe they have some incident management system is there, and they want to like some automation. So they will create some small document, will specify the requirements very high level, and they will say, okay, this is, I have budget this much, and can you look into that and see what other things can be done it. And so this is called as a project charter, and that's given by the project sponsor, or a business sponsor. So they will, and it give it to the project manager. Once the project manager receive that, means he can start the project. That is the first document and starting document that every project manager has to start, to have it to start the project. So for a project, for developing project management plan, you need a project charter. You need some, you're going to consider about some other conditions, some like environmental condition. We're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about organization, within the organization, what are the policies are there, what are the guidelines are there. So these are the input you'll consider. You're going to apply some meeting, you're going to have some meetings, some expert judgment. So these are called as tools and techniques. You're going to have expert judgment, you're going to have some meetings, and you'll do some activities, okay, on those input that you receive it. And then final output will have a project management plan. So that activity is called as actually the process. So over this activity, so I will come to this, so what is the process actually? It has some input. You're going to apply some tools and techniques. It will have some output. So input will be some, the project charter or business requirements, and some environmental consideration, or some within organization, if any guidelines, any templates are there to, develop project management plan. So this will be your input. You're going to have some expert judgment. Obviously, you're going to have a discussion with the SME and understand it, how feasible this project to do it, and maybe you'll have a team meeting. So these are like a tool set technique. And then at the end, the output will be the project management plan. So this activities, overall this called as a process. Now, so throughout this PMBOK guide or throughout this training, we're going to learn about the processes. Every process. We're going to talk about project charter, and that we're going to start from chapter 4, which is project integration management. And so project integration management. So these are the processes are there, and the scope management. So this is how this our the training will go, and this is how this overall PMBOK is based on that, and how this PMP the certification is based on. And now this is a tabular document where you'll find that these are a process group, initiating process group, planning process group. Now what are the activities you do during the starting of the project? At the starting, those things they group it as in the initiating process group. When I say the initiating process, there will be few processes are there, which are like a develop project charter is there. There is one more is there, which is like a identify stakeholder, which is at the stakeholder management. So these are the two processes which basically belong from initiating process group. Now let's talk about a planning process group. In the planning, these are the different processes are there which comes under, you'll do as part of the planning. Or for example, you create a project plan. You're going to have a scope management plan. Scope management means at the end, what will this within the scope, what are the, how you're going to handle the scope of the project. So you're going to have a scope management plan. Collect requirements. So collecting the requirements is also comes under the planning. Means because you have not started anything in the development, because once you collect the requirement, you will create some design. Then finally on those things, you're going to work on the executing process group, okay, which is like a direct and managed project work. So like most of the, and you'll find a lot of process from the planning process group, okay. So like a plan scope management, collect requirement, define scope. Again, you're going to define the scope of the whole, the project. Create a WBS. I think you've been heard about this WBS, work breakdown structure. How you can break down the work, this project, project statement work into the different, different smaller manageable component. Manageable work component means For example, when you have big projects, collecting a requirement itself, maybe in that you'll have some technical requirement or functional requirement or some business requirement. So you break down those things. When you break down those any big activities, smaller activities, so that you can manage and you can track it, that comes under the create WBS, plan schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, and these are the different planning process group that I will be discussing one by one throughout our session. So this is how these process are grouped into these different process group, okay? And then these are basically linked to, they belong to some knowledge area. Means like within, these are the things that like a scope, validate scope, control scope, plan. So they have, they belong to the scope management. With the time management, like a plan schedule, define activity, sequence activity, these belong related to the time management. So these things are called as knowledge area. So the chapter wise will go as a knowledge area, like integration management. With the integration management, we'll go cover all these process. Then we'll go for scope management, these process, time management, these process. This is how things will go. And this is a very important, I can say this, page. Please take a printout of that and try to, memorize and try to understand it and see which, the process belong to which process group. Okay. Once when you receive, when you get a PMP certification question, so first of all, you need to understand the scenarios and try to, link those scenarios from which process it belongs. When for getting which process, first of all, you need to understand from which process group it belongs. Is this question belong from planning or execution, from monitoring, controlling? When you get to that topic, if you belong to the planning process group, but which knowledge area is talking about a scope something? Okay, no, it's related to the scope, then it's something knowledge area, scope management, planning process group. So what are the different processes are there? Plan, scope management, collect requirement. So this is how you have to basically narrow down, and come up with that this question belong to which process and how I can answer it. Okay, so is that they are talking about the collect requirement, and the collect requirement, what are the things are we talk about? We're going to collect the requirement from business. What are the different tools and techniques we're going to apply? So they never ask a direct question. What is the tools and technique of the collect requirement? That's you'll find one or two. That's I can say the 95% questions are scenario based. So you'll not get to such type of question. But from these tools and techniques, what output does it? Have something. So you'll try to, they will give you objectives and you need to understand it. This question belongs from which process, and then try to apply the concept that you learn from those process and give the answer. Okay. So it's basically this is how you have to narrow down the, and come up, solve your questions. So that's why I'm saying take a printout of this page and try to memorize or try to learn every day, and this will going to help you throughout your, this training. This is good. So let's talk about.
I have a question on this one, Dilip. So testing, what process group it falls under? Closing or execution?
Which one you're talking about?
Testing, system testing or user acceptance testing.
Okay, so this is testing. You'll go for executing process group. You do some activities, okay, and so that comes in the executing process group. Because you do some activities, right? You got some product, you test it. Now monitoring, when it comes to the monitoring and controlling process group, where you monitor the progress of the projects and you see that if that project is going on right track, or you are going to validate the scope, right? You'll see that okay, if this much has been done in the scope, it has asked for 10 points. Now it's just only 8 points has been covered. So you're going to validate or control the scope. So that's like a monitoring and controlling process group. Any activities that you do, that's part of the executing process group. And normally in a project, I can say the 45% time spent on the executing process group, which is like you do a lot of activities there. 45%, I can say the 50% almost depending on what project is there, you spend that time on the executing process group. Good. So we're talking about this process. Process is nothing but set of action activities to achieve the product, result, or service. So what are the the activities you're going to do it and to get an output? For example, develop project management plan. You do something and you'll have some output. And project management process generally falls under the two process groups. One is called as a project management process, and another is called as a product oriented process. As I said, the product oriented process is specific to the industries and specific to the product. So we are not considering that process like pharmaceutical industries is altogether. They have a different product processes are there, and manufacturing have a different processes are there. So you can't have those processes are similar. But the execution of the project management processes are the same. So we'll throughout this thing we're going to learn about this thing. And both processes overlap and interact throughout the project, because at the end of the project you'll develop sometime you have some projects where you're going to have some product get ready. Okay, so they interact with they interact and overlap it. So this project management process and product oriented process at some time. So we talk about this process, and there are total 47 project management processes are there in PMBOK Guide edition, and those are basically grouped into the 5 process group: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling, closing. And when I say the process, input, supply, tools, and
can you go back to the previous slide, please?
Yeah, this is the previous slide. Is this one or this one?
No, the previous slide.
This is the first slide. So is the next slide we want to?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
One area will be left.
So it's basically we're talking about what are the different types of project management process are there, and how this group it into 2 things, and which one we will going to considering about it. So one, as I said, the project management and
so
process analysis called a project
plan. What I seen in this waterfall model, they just put the numbers, right? So so that is different and this is different, is it?
So can you elaborate more? So in the waterfall model, they put the numbers in this? Sorry?
We just put the task on the developer name and then some numbers to 1 week or 2 weeks, all these things, right? So that is not a project plan.
No, so that is only the time management only, So there are a lot of things are there. So let me tell you, the project management plan is basically consists of all the documents from other knowledge areas, other the planning knowledge, planning process, and those are like from scope management. You have whatever the documents is there, human resource management, time management. So normally we do the time management. If you see that, we just say, hey, this task will have from this duration to this day, and we say this is a project management plan. No, that is only the time schedule management. They are considering about this activities to this from this list. But project management plan is like, it has a lot of things like human resource management, how the resources you're going to onboard it on at a different activities or when you're going to apply it. Quality management, how you're going to handle the quality management. So throughout the project, what are the things? So what's the plan for that? So the project management plan consists of a lot of things. That is quality management, stakeholder.
Document, PMO document, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is that consists of. But normally in real time, what we do it, we just create one schedule management, just like one time management. Okay, this project starts from this thing, and that is what we do in MS project, right? That is only small part of that. It has a lot of things actually. If you talk about it, okay.
It's been never shared to us. We just see the only that.
Sometimes, most of the time, the project manager, is just like a 6 month, or they don't create this quality management plan document or, the cost management. Within the cost management, there are a lot of activities, how to get a funding, what's the plan for that, when, at what moment, at which time, like after 1 month, which money, how do I get that money, who is going to source it. That's also, they need to plan it, it can't be like put in in their mind. It has to be documented somewhere. That is also called as a plan. That's like a cost management plan, okay. So we just normally as I said, day to life we do small of them, but throughout as part of the bigger project. But bigger project habit like something like oil exploration or where like or construction company where go for 10 years or so, they plan a lot of things, so that they have to go with these things. Good. What are the common projects? Yeah.
I got it.
Tell me.
And one thing is maybe a little out off topic than current topic. Usually I think that if I go and interact to the project manager about little bit about this management, they usually cut down. They usually cut down that don't interfere into my area. I just seen this sort of behavior with a few project managers. Is it normally? I mean, is it the
No, that's not been supported or recommended by the PMI. A project manager, has to, share whatever the project related information, but some of the information is confidential, and sometimes the project manager, a lot of information confidential. That is the problem. Few information is the confidential, but, which require authority from higher management to share it, which PMI agrees. But sometimes project manager says it's not your job. You just do that. Sometimes they don't share financial information. They don't share it, and like which at what time, what will the cost will be there. If I'm putting these many resources, I'm acquiring these many resources from the market. For this 1 month, I will be spending near about 100K, and over a period of 200K or 300K. So they don't share it from here. So as I said, you said right. Sometimes there's a confidence that we don't want to share it. So it's like how the maturity of the project manager and they are handling it. Okay.
For example, I'm currently working on 4 projects. They're asking me to work on another project, which is a 5th project. I already told them, see, I'm already working on these many projects. If they just find number of hours I worked. I told them effectiveness is always the opposite of efficiency, right?
Yes,
They told this thing, they just they couldn't be able to agree on this thing. I mean,
as I said, this is a project management, project manager attitude, or how their behaviors are there. So it's like a case to case. That the PMI doesn't, or as a real a good project manager, they they have to consider and go with the standard. And if you'll find a very good project manager, by the way, in the market, who really good. Okay. So it is there. It's like. But that's where, the PMI, recommend that people should go for project management training, where you should know what is the best practice needs to be done and what is the best practice followed in the industry. Good. So, common project management process. So, as I said, this is how this process are normally interacting. Like you'll start with that, and then plan, executing, and throughout this, like planning, execution, you'll be monitoring and controlling is one of the process group, which basically, applies in all the areas. Like if you see that during initiation also, you monitor the activity, see whether when I'm working on a develop project charter, if that has been done or not. So you do some monitoring, right? You assign some task to somebody, you'll see, hey, when it has been done, whether it's a part of the planning or execution. So don't consider like during execution itself you do the monitoring and controlling. No, sometimes you ask, hey, can you give me some information? You monitor that activities, right? After 1 or 2 days, it's been done or not. So the monitoring and controlling is one of the process group. Basically, like till the closing, from the starting till the closing, you do that activities. You just see whether that has been done or not. Now, if you see this one of this diagram, which help you to understand it much better, how this level process get interacted. Like at the starting, you have initiating, like you will be starting the project where you have some project charter ready. You are going to identify who are the stakeholders are in the project. There is 2 process are there in the initiating process group. What are those 2 process are there? Hold on. There are basically 2 processes are there. One is called a develop project charter, another is called as identify stakeholders. These are the 2 processes basically belong from initiating. identify stakeholder, I should know for this project who are the stakeholders in the project. When I say the stakeholders, this is one of the word most of the time people is not aware about it. Okay, give you one example. When you're building one construction, I'm building one shopping mall in one of the cities. Okay, can you identify who can be the stakeholders in the project? This is my project. I'm building one shopping mall in maybe I can give you one example in Cupertino, okay, or maybe in San Jose. So this is one of my project is there, and business has asked you to work on it. So who are the stakeholders will be there? Can you just guess it?
Sorry.
Who, suppose I'm working on a project where like build a shopping mall into the, San Jose city, and who can be the stakeholder in the project?
Stakeholder is a fundraiser, fund manager, who is funding this project, probably some angel investors, he is the primary stakeholder. And other thing is the person who is executing the project head, and below them are the kind of project leads who is executing the interior design, foundation, and the civil construction. These are the working people. The main stakeholders are the angel investors and then the project head, and also the individual, for example, the civil construction head, and then interior design head. So these are the primary stakeholders, and other people, for example, interior design people who works on interior design reports to interior design head. He's one of the stakeholders, because if anything goes wrong with the interior design, he's responsible. Similar to the construction and overall project lead, and obviously the angel investor. If anything happens, all has to be aware.
What about San Jose Municipal Corporation? Is this their stakeholder?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. No, not that.
How they are a stakeholder? In what sense they are a stakeholder?
They don't need to know each and every detail of the construction and finances, all those things. Right? They are aware of environmental pollutions, right?
Compliance.
What are the So what are the public's public living surround the people living nearby that area? Is they are stakeholder in the projects?
No.
Well, I believe
No.
everybody who can either impact the project or get impacted by the project is a stakeholder, right?
Perfect. That is the stakeholder. Project stakeholder is like in the project. If one project is there, who can impact the projects, and whatever the Arvind, you said, these are the people who can impact the project, like San Jose Municipal Corporation. They can impact the project. The internal designer, project team, project stakeholder, like a business sponsor. These are active stakeholders. These are like they can impact a project decision. Then there's called as a passive stakeholder. Those at the receiver end. The people living surrounding area, they are at a receiver end, So they will, they can, they are also the stakeholder, because that is they will get a benefit at the end for which you are building this product. Shopping mall is for the public only, right? So for them you are building. So you have to see that they are also the stakeholder. You have to see that what is their thought, what they think about it, what are the amenities should be there. So you should have already done as part of the feasibility analysis, but they're also the stakeholders. Sometimes you do the survey with them. So they are also the stakeholders. Like the people who can, impact your project, that's definitely their stakeholder. There's an active stakeholder. But who can be impacted by the project? The public living surrounding, these are like, they will be impacted by your project. Once project gone live or during construction, they will get impacted. So that's basically the stakeholder. Normally, that's why there's a confusion happen. Normally we think that business sponsor or something like they are only the stakeholder. No. This is the actual, I can say the definition. This is how the stakeholders there. So these things need to be identified starting at a phase. who are the stakeholders in your project. And the stakeholder is a process like once you identify throughout your project, you need to monitor those stakeholders. What is their, activities and how, sometime what happen, a few stakeholders you need to monitor in terms of like who can impact your project decision drastically. So to them, you need to work together and keep on updating the status. But for public, for example, if my public is they are also stakeholder, what I'm going to do? Maybe I will put a notice board or some advertisement. Means for them, hey, this construction is going on from this area, this time to this time, and maybe some pictures how after one year how beautiful this area will be there. So I'm just giving some information to them. But at the end, to whom I'm giving? I'm giving to those stakeholders. But I'm not concerned about that stakeholder much. So it depends upon where should I focus, more time and effort on which stakeholder, depend upon their importance, depend upon their decision to impact the project. So all those things needs to be taken care of it. And all these activities needs to be done as part of identified stakeholder. You need to monitor it throughout your project. Yeah, you have a question.
So that means developers are never going to the stakeholders.
Developers?
Never going to be the stakeholders in the project.
No, he's the main stakeholder. Developer, right? He's the stakeholder.
Let's say
yes, developer is actually main because he will put one bug, who is going to solve it. So developer is a stakeholder because he's working. Even project team is a part of the stakeholder. They are also stakeholders. When I say the project team, everything is included. Project manager, functional consultants, everything. Who are working on a project, they are the stakeholders. That's the first active. Those are called as active stakeholders. Those are called as active, very important.
According to the definition, how does it going to impact the developer? For example, if I'm a developer in the project, how does it going to, I'm going to get impacted by the project?
You can impact the project because you're going to work on some activity you're working on. You impacted is a different. You can directly impacting the project because I have given some task. I supposed to do it in the first week, but I have not done it. I have completed. Means project can be delayed, right? Some critical activities have been assigned to the developer, and some challenges comes. He was not able to complete it. Project can be impacted for 1 week.
Okay, so that means a person who's going to affect the project is called a stakeholder, is it? Because there are two definitions which I heard in the discussion. One is person who's going to get impacted or person who's going to receive the benefit of the project. Who is the
one is then to both are stakeholder. Both are say one is called active stakeholder, passive stakeholder. Both combines and say this is a stakeholder. Active stakeholder who can impact your project directly, means who can impact your project in terms of like a developer can impact in some of the things is not able to done. So go live can be impacted for some time. So they can impact on a project. Another is who can be impacted by project, like who at like a benefit side or receiver end. Means they will not directly involve in the project, but they can be impacted by the project. Like output of the product or during execution when the project is going on, they can be impacted. So those are like people or customers. So these are like at a receiver end. So they will be like I can say the passive stakeholder.
Okay, right, I got it.
Good, thank you. Great. So let's talk about any question on this? Perfect. So we are talking about this initiating process group, where how this this processes like initiating process group doesn't have a larger duration. When you start something, you'll create your project charter, you identify stakeholders. So over a period, it just slowly it will close down. Then as soon as the planning will get starting where you start working on collecting requirement, create a project management plan, scope management, time management, all those things you will do it. And that is where this is the planning. You will start creating a planning. And then slowly this executing process will slowly taking and you start putting in some work at some level, there's a peak level will be coming. And then monitoring and controlling, if you see this is like at every process group it is there. whether it's initiation, you some monitor these activities during a planning also, those tasks has been done or not. So the monitoring and controlling is, and you'll be doing there until the closing. And once you start getting deliverables and you'll start updating it, so slowly start the executing process, start work activities, started deploying it, and then slowly you start, as soon as you start getting project is almost completion phase, you start a closing phase. And then here you start a closing activity slowly, and there will be some peak time where almost deliverables is done and you want to make sure that you have all the lesson learned, all the documents is ready, and all the project is ready, final everything is good, and then you close it. Okay, so finally you'll close and say, hey, project is over, and you'll have to release your resources, because once the project is closed and you have to release your resources, and you can release the resources early based on the work is there. Like you start releasing the resources during monitoring and controlling, like slowly here work has started declining, you start releasing the resources, like 10 resources are there, I will release 1 resource, then 4 resources will be working for another 1 week. So because you don't want to have a cost, go for a cost overrun, all those things. So these activities needs to be planned and needs to be done it. Okay, good. So initiating process group. Initiating process group normally, why you want to build this product, why you want to go for this project, why you need this product. So when you're able to answer these questions, and you'll be basically at initiating process group. So like, for example, business case, agreement. In the business case, right, why you are going for this project, it has to be specified, right? Somebody asks, hey, to go for SUV car. You're going to ask it, why you need this SUV car? You'll say, oh, yeah, since I don't have in my portfolio and there's a demand in the market, so I need that one, so that you're going to show some benefit over a period of time, how we can get, the company will get benefited. So when you're able to, answer why questions, and then obviously you are able to gather those business cases. Okay, so the business cases may identify why you need that project, and why you are working on this, building this product. Okay, and in this initiating process group, as I said, there's a 2 process, and which are basically develop project charter and the identify stakeholders are there. And project charter is a very high level document, and which basically show that what are the constraints are there, what is the the business cases are there, what are the technical constraints are there, and the business sponsor, they will give you the high level budget also. Means this much funding is available. I have like a 200K or 500K, and within that you think about, you plan according to that. Okay, so because that has to be according to the project manager, needs to be planned. And I will be showing to the project charter in during integration management, because integration management will go to each and every process in detailed way. So I'll explain you how the project charter look like, and we'll go through that. Okay, so this is how the initiating process groups are there. And planning process group is talk about consist of those processes performed to establish the total scope, effort, define and refine the objectives. So in this planning, what you're going to do is mostly you plan your scope, and you plan your activities. You're going to sequence your activities. You plan how your schedule will be there, how your cost management will be there. So you define, you do all those things as part of the planning process group. So that's why, like, what you are going to do it, who is going to do it, when you are going to do it, when is like time management, like when you are going to, and how you are going to do it. That's how you are going to execute it, what plan you have it. Okay. So who is going to work? So like you should have that human resource management plan, and what are you going to do it? So that document scope should be there. Like, so that all those things come in the planning process group. If you see this Tableau document, it has a lot of planning process are there. So it consists of a lot of stuff. Okay, so when you are able to answer these questions, means you can get the planning process group. These are the basically processes normally consists of the planning process group, which is like a plan and schedule management. This is from the time management. This is from human resource management. This is from like a stakeholder management. This is a procurement management. This is for risk management, communication management. So different processes from the different knowledge area. What else comes? These are comes in the planning process group. And we'll be, as I said, like during a training itself, we're going to go one by one these processes. Executing process like do activities, okay, and consider those processes performed to complete the work defined in the project management plan. So what has been defined in the project management plan, according to just do those activities and meet the requirements. And obviously when you're do activities, so a lot of resource coordination has to be happened. We need to meet the stakeholder expectation, try to resolve the issues on time and get the things done on time. So all those things you do as part of the executing process group. And these are basically the processes will be there in the executing process group, which is like acquire a project team, perform quality assurance, direct manage project work. You have to manage your stakeholder engagement, try to have a regular meeting with the stakeholders and understand these requirements regularly, conduct the procurements, purchase a material, whatever you need, like you need some machineries or some tools, go ahead and purchase it. You need to manage your communications. You have a daily meeting, status meeting with the team and other people so that the right information is available to the right people at the right time. Manage project team. Sometimes the team conflicts are there. You have to manage the project team and resolve those things and develop project team. Sometimes that resource doesn't have that much training. You need to train them so that they can work on those things and hire the resources. So these things you'll do as part of the executing process group. And the monitoring and controlling process group, where basically you track and review on the progress and performance of the project, where you see how the project is going on, what's the performance of that, okay? And you see that if any areas where any changes are required, so you work on those things. And that comes when you do monitoring. And if any changes needs to be done, you need to initiate and any changes need to go to the change control board. There is one process in the integration management called as a perform integrated change control, where any changes that in the project has been asked like a new requirement something, it has to go with the change board. There should be some meeting, some discussion, right? Developer can't accept and go start doing it. That's like this is standard process, but normally in the small projects, new changes they ask it, they will just yeah, we'll do it, we'll just complete it. But that's not the standard of process. On a bigger projects, any new changes, anything, it has to go with the proper change control board, where they will have a project team and team meet, the business, their customers who have requested that change. They will have a broader discussion why you want to include this change. If you include it, how my schedule will going to impact it, because and how this cost can increase. All these things needs to be discussed before you include that changes in the during your project. So there are a lot of things happen. Yeah. This is the monitoring and controlling, where you have these are the processes: control quality, control stakeholder engagement, how to control your risk, control procurement, and communication. So when you see the control word, you just simply say it's a part of monitoring. It's a very easy way to identify what are the processes belong from the controlling. And then finally you have a closed process group. Closed processes, talk about like one project gone for live, and you just now you'll work on have all the lesson learned document, create those lesson learned document, put it as in the repository. Project document, what has been created, it has to be stored in the repository and as part of the update organization process of it. Because every organization have some repository, right? Means where you have some project documents are there, which you can, sometimes you can use that project for future reference. Okay, so you have to update those as part of that, and that's a good practice. That's why most of the company they have their own, sometimes portal, or sometimes they have, some repositories. Some folders are there where they will have all the project details are there. And every project from the requirement to planning, whatever that they will put it there. Okay. During a closed process group, it's just like once work project is done, just go and celebrate it. So that's a closed project. Talk about it. And during close, you do some post project activity phase. You do some post-mortem activities. Okay. And then you document those lessons, what has been gone for good, what has been gone for bad, how you can improve those things. Uh, so this is this is one of the like kind of high level how the project goes, like a develop project charter. I will be covering this diagram into the integration management also, but we're going to go on a slide this thing. Like when the project started, you have a project charter. Like business sponsor give you some requirement and give you, hey, this is a project charter. You work on it. Project manager receive that project charter, and then he will start working on developing a project management plan. Once the project management plan is like all things are ready, have a project plan is ready, then it enter into the execution phase, which is like a direct and managed project work. You're going to work on those activities, what has been defined in the project management plan, and you deliver something. Deliverable is called as a work performance data, WPD, work performance data. It's called as a raw observation, some deliverables. Means you deliver something and you validate it, and then you find some defect that's altogether different. You see that, okay, it's not been done fully, you need to do this thing. That's you do as part of during a monitoring, during a control process, during monitoring and controlling process group. Okay. So you deliver something, deliverables, and that's called as a work performance data, like number of what has been delivered till now. Like there's 10 activities have been asked, and you deliver 5, and you say, hey, this has been done. But then you compare those things with the scope, schedule, quality, communication, control list, where it is fit. If those requirements are there, you'll compare with the control scope is there. So where you'll see, okay, this 10 thing has been delivered. Ask you just 5. So you ask it how it has to be done in whatever the documents in the document, what are the requirement has been specified. Has been done according to that or not? So when any deliverables or work performance data goes through the control process, it will give you the work performance information. Okay, work performance information, like it gives you some status of that activities at that moment of time. Means 10 things has been asked, 5 things has been done, means this is status. Like only 5 things has been done it. So, and what status is going to be delayed, and this activity is not being done in particular time. So you can say this activity has got delayed. Okay. Now that's called as a work performance information. And once this work performance information is go to this monitor and control project work, and which is basically on overall level, you're going to monitor the project activities overall, and then you have status report and say, now since these are activities are getting delayed, some of them the high risk or something has not been delivered, your project can be delayed for few months, few weeks, or cost can go for overrun. You may need more resources, and then you create a status report or some recommendations, memos. So you have those data, and that's called as a work performance information report. In collection of once you have the work performance information, you analyze those data, you create some report. That's called as a work performance report. Okay, so there is a difference. Work performance data is raw observation, some deliverables, what has been delivered, and that's work performance data. When it goes to the control process, then you have a work performance information which will give you the status of that, the activities, that deliverables which has been done or not. And when you have all those information, work performance information, when you go to the overall monitor and control project works on overall project level, you monitor, and then you say what is the status of overall projects or any recommendations are there. And then if everything looks good, like you say, project is deliverables, it meets the control scope, it meets the scope, then you close the project. If any changes are there, it has to again come back and go to this. You again need to plan your project management plan, again go to the direct management, because you have to change your project management plan. If any changes is there, right, here it again come, again it goes to the here. And then you again change your project plan, some changes, and then you again go for execution. So this is how the high level, how this project normally goes. Okay. In terms of a control process, as I say, like any work, there's a lot of control processes there, and these are the things we'll be discussing about: scope, schedule, cost, quality, communication, risk. And let's talk about the control process in terms of scope and quality. Like, after direct and managed project work, like after execution goes with the control scope or control quality. Any deliverables are there, you check, see the quality. If you see that it's good or validated deliverables are there, you go for validating their scope. If you scope is like everything has been done according to the requirement, you close that. You accept the deliverables and close the project. If it is not there, you validate. You'll again here come and you ask for integrated change control. You say that some changes needs to be done or something is there. Control quality, again, you can directly come here also. Here, if you're checking with the scope wise and see as per the scope is being done or not. So again, you can monitor those things or close it, or you can, if any changes is there, it's not been done according to that, it goes to the integrated change control, and then whatever the decision will be there of integrated change control, whether they have to take these changes or not, or they have to reject it. According to that, they need to update the project management plan. If they are taking the changes, they will update their project management plan. If they are rejecting, they will go and reject it. Okay. Once a project management plan is there, they have to go for, if any bug fixes are there, something has not been done, again it will go ask them in execution case and do the changes according to that, what has been asked in the scope. So this is like one of the high level how the scope quality control process works actually. And during integration management, during a monitoring and controlling process group, we'll go through each and every control process and we'll have a more discussion on that. Okay. Good. So this is like one of the Tableau format document which I have shown you. So same thing. That's good. So let's have a brief on summary wise. Let's go through that those topics slightly on a first. We talk about the project management process. We talk about a product oriented process, and throughout the PMBOK we're going to talk about the project management process. And normally the project management process and product they interact each other, because at the end you develop some products, so they some overlap, some interaction will happen. And these are there are 47 project management processes are there, and and process is nothing but some inputs will be there, you apply some tools and techniques and some outputs. So overall this activity is called as a process. We talk about this how this initiating process group and planning process group, how they interact, and we talk about initiating process group.
Do they really do this 47 process? Do they really follow this 47 process in the actual real world?
No, we don't do it that much. So PMI says PMI have given the standard. So what PMI says, whatever fits your project, take all those things. So what the industries or organization is doing, they pick and choose. Like, okay, this thing is good for me, I will take this much. Okay, I will take this much. Okay. But PMI have given this guidelines as standards. Okay, if everybody do follow this thing, they will have a better excellence, better achievement. But based on the project size, like sometimes project is smaller duration, though they don't do much things. Okay, so it's just it's industry wise or project wise which fits, they will take that one. Okay. Good. So we're talking about this initiating process group, so where different processes are, how they're interacting it. There's a two process develop project charter, identify stakeholders, and we talk about the planning process group. These are the planning process, and they will be there. We talk about executing, it's like two activities, and these are the according to the plan, you just work on it, and that's part of the executing process group. Monitoring and controlling process groups, and we talk about the closing, and we talk about high level how this sequence goes on that. Good. Slightly we'll take a few questions, and now it's your turn. I would like to, just read this question very carefully and give this answer, and then we'll discuss on those. This is one way to exercise your understanding it. And I know this is starting, so you may find few questions wrong, but try to read the question, try to analyze what we have learned it, and try to answer it. Let me read the question. So, the planning process group, very important. Planning process group touches all the 10 key knowledge area in that planning has to be occur in each of these area. Which of the following is not part of the planning? It is telling which of the following is not part of the planning. Let's talk about the now I don't remember all the process. Let me understand it. Can we eliminate the it is talking about which is not part of the planning? Means there will be one option which is not part of the planning. I need to find that option. Instead of remembering all the processes, I need to find that option. Okay. So creating a WBS, develop project management plan, like develop by looking itself, I can say. Estimate activity, active duration, means you're estimating activity is a part of the planning. Creating WBS, you plan your activity, like you break down your activities. Identify stakeholder. Can you identify stakeholder which process belongs? Process group? It's initiation, right? Initiating process group, right? So this is the, this is the way, first of all, this question helps you to you have to find one of them which is not part of the planning. You don't have to remember. You have to find which one belong to other process group. Okay. So identify stakeholders. We talk about a develop project charter and identify stakeholders part of the initiating process group. So this is your identify stakeholder. Is this okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Raw observation and measurement taking during the performance of the project activities is defined by the PMI. Is a work performance information or work performance data, work performance report or work performance criteria. Yep. I talk about raw observation and measurement.
Is it the data?
Exactly. It's a WPDD, right? Small deliverables, some work performance data, something that you, after during execution, you get something. So that observation and those things as comes at the work performance data, that's a WPDD. Yeah. So let's take just two more questions and then we'll wind up this chapter. And all of the following happen in the initiating process, with the exception. All of the following happen in initiating process with the exception, means we have to find which one is the exception is there. Initiating process group, what are things happen? First of all, determine the stakeholders. Is happening this initiating process group or not?
Yes.
Option A.
Option A. That's good. That's really good. Because you don't choose the project team at the starting itself, right? We have only two processes. Develop project charter and identify stakeholder. So you don't choose who will going to work in your team. That's like a part of during executing process group, and you take some during a planning also you plan what are the team will be there. But this is a part of your, this is not part of the initiating process group. Yep. Processes that provide a project team with the insight into the health of the project and identifies any areas requiring additional attention are performed.
Is it monitoring and controlling?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's good. That's really good. That's good. Thank you. So do you have any question on this?